I think I had always known that mold can be dangerous. I just didn't really think that it could, other than like for sinus patients, be such a big deal. But it can really affect everything. Like even your motor skills, it can affect if you're exposed to, the right kind of it. But anyway.
Yeah, what were some of your main symptoms that you were experiencing, and what are, in general, if someone's never even thought about mold being an issue, what are some of the symptoms they should look out for maybe doing some further investigation to see if mold is an issue?
I would say, obviously, watery eyes, sinuses, sinus pressure, chronic sinus infections, and then just anxiety. My anxiety was off the charts. I had lots of sinus infections, but what's funny is I had so many other whole body symptoms at the time with my sinus stuff that my sinus stuff didn't even bother me that much.
It wasn't the worst symptom.
Yeah.
So it's a wide range.
Yeah, a really wide range. And I had a lot of tooth pain and dental issues, and I've never had dental issues in my life. So that was a really strange one for me. And I think there was a lot of referred pain, I'm sure, from my sinuses that felt like it was dental. But I just, for that time for me, I felt like I was constantly plagued by toothaches or things like that I had never really experienced before.
Yeah, like what you're describing is a really wide range of symptoms, but I appreciate you taking the time to kind of break some of that down, because a lot of those symptoms I think are things that people wouldn't really think of or attribute to, if they cannot resolve it, maybe starting to play detective with the mold levels where they live or their mold exposures. So, once all of a sudden you have those suspicions, and then from there, if you do go on like you did to have an expert or someone confirm like a mold source in your home, or it's actively coming from something in your home that's exposed you, that's when the battle really starts of, okay, what do we do about this? How do we support the body? How do we clean up the house? And what do we do about that? And your company, I know, strategically kind of divides it into two fronts. Environmentally, externally, you have to start knocking back the mold you're exposed to and what's growing in the home. And then internally, you start to heal what the mold is damaging inside the body. So where do you suggest people start, or what did you learn on your journey that showed you how to start tackling those two fronts? You got an internal battle and you got an external battle.
Well, for us, since the problem was so bad, we obviously had to have professionals really come help us with a lot of it. But when the dust settled and the professional piece of it was over, I had to basically be taught. And I learned this from a person who is no longer alive, unfortunately, but he was an excellent human being. He was a toxicologist and a good friend of my dad's. But he said that because we talked a lot about mold remediation and how there's a lot of people who feel like a house truly can't ever be remediated that was as bad as ours was. But he said that, once it was all done right and the main source, which was our HVAC system, was removed and, everything was properly cleaned at a remediation cleaning level and then put back together. He said, as long as you are willing and able to do what he called mold focus cleaning on a regular basis for the next year, he's like, it's going to take at least a year to fully reclaim this house, kind of like it does your body. You have to be willing. It's not just they've remediated and it's done. You really have to do the work and do it almost when you clean, you're on your little weekly cleaning schedule with your house, but with some products and techniques that are very mold focused and like targeted mold spores and mycotoxins to continue knocking the levels down to get it to be like sort of a healthy little ecosystem again.
So can you unpack that a little bit more and kind of explain, is that like spraying down the walls with a certain solution, wiping them down? Is it using a specific type of vacuum cleaner so that you're picking up and catching the mold spores?
Yeah.
Like, what does that kind of look like?
Well, it kind of looks like for us, and I adopted this like kind of from my dad. Like he had started this with a lot of his patients before me, but he's like, you've got your air, your surfaces, and like your washable items like your laundry and your sheets and all that stuff. And so for me, that looked like cleaning all hard surfaces, just wiping them down, basically like wet dusting, I guess is what I would call it. I mean, your kitchen and your kitchen counters you're cleaning quite frequently because you're prepping food in there. But, your other surfaces, like you really do need to touch them and wipe them down and clean them. I mean, for me, it started with at least once a week. And then, I do this like less frequently, but then it was at least once a week, like wiping down with like a microfiber cloth and the EC3 spray, hard surfaces, and then misting upholstered things and soft surfaces like rugs with the spray. And I'm a huge proponent of everyone, I don't care who you are, having like a HEPA certified vacuum and not a bagless one. Get a bagged one because they're a closed system. And with the bagless ones, even the expensive, great ones, the problem is when you empty the dirt out, that system is not completely sealed because of the way it's designed, like it is with a bag, with all the debris going directly into a bag. And so no matter what, you're spitting some of that back into your environment, when you're using the vacuum. So like a bagged HEPA vacuum, microfiber cloths, some EC3 spray. If you're someone who can afford a fogger and would actually use one, that is a fantastic way to address the air inside your home and like a bigger space and do it in a shorter amount of time. But if you're someone who prefers like a candle, the candles work really well and can address the air, burning them in the rooms where you spend the most time. I think, air filters and purifiers in places like your bedroom or like the family room where you hang out, you want to really be thinking about the rooms that you are breathing in, that you're taking your breaths in.